Hey everybody, I'm Brooke.
And I'm McKenna. So we did a social experiment regarding wealth status for our project.
And to start out this video we have for you guys, we're going to insert a clip.
Any spare change?
I actually don't. I don't
Do you
carry
have
any on me.
Venmo? I have Venmo.
I do. What are you doing?
I'm actually trying to raise money to get a car because I got this car when I was 16 and all my friends just got new cars. Like my best friend just got a Lamborghini and so they all like shut me out because my car's not new enough.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I feel like you get new friends.
Yeah, I mean that would be a good thing too, but like
Okay.
it's the status.
What do you have, like,
Do you want my Venmo?
I could Venmo maybe a couple.
Okay, yeah, anything would be great. Okay.
I just moved here, so I don't have too much either, but I can give you a little bit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. What's your Venmo?
Hey guys. Do you have any spare change? Hi. Do you have any spare change?
You know what? What's the sign for?
Well, I'm actually trying to raise money because so all my friends just got new cars and I got this car when I turned 16.
No way.
Yeah. So they're all like outing me.
They are outing you?
Yeah, because I don't have the nice enough car. And so I wanted to get a Tesla, so I'm trying to save up for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me check. I happen to have $1. I can let it go and hopefully it lands on me.
I can take it from you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Do you have any spare change?
Okay.
No.
For this car? No.
For this car, no?
Hi, hello.
Do you have any spare change?
I actually don't, but I could take you out though. And you could touch that sign and we could go eat.
You want to take me out?
Yeah, you could like throw that sign away, pick up your money, and let's go. You can keep on. It's up to you. You could take out. You can stand here all day if you want, or I could just take you out right now.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to save up to buy stuff, you know?
Yeah, but I'll just give you money. You don't need to save money.
You want to do that?
Yeah, let's go. I'll take you. You can toss that sign. Let's get it.
Okay. This is actually for a YouTube video. Yeah.
So she got a lot of help as a rich girl. Now she's gonna take off her makeup and put on some homeless makeup. Let's see how she does as a homeless girl.
Spare change? 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 Thank you so much. Spare change? Spare change?
Alright, Lexi, so what did you think about the results of the experiment? How did you feel as a homeless girl?
I felt super crappy because the entire time, like, I was dressed as a rich girl and I was standing in front of this Mercedes saying, like, holding a sign saying, I just need more money. People constantly were looking at me and staring at me and interacting with me, and I would ask them and they would actually talk back to me when I was like, spare change. But when I was homeless, nobody would give me eye contact. Like, people were afraid to look my direction for some reason just because of my clothes, like the way I was dressed and like the way I look. Yeah.
So what do you think we can learn from this?
I honestly think that money doesn't determine human value. Every human life is valuable and you can't diminish that just because somebody dresses a certain way or looks a certain way just because they don't look like you. Like, that's unfair.
Okay, so we went to a few local gas stations in Sanpete County, and every time we went to a gas station, we were 10 cents short. We came to gas stations looking a little rough, kind of like we didn't have as much money. We sent our male friends in, we even tested some racial aspects, and then of course we went as we normally would.
So throughout this experiment, we tested and looked for certain things throughout the times we went to each different gas station. And some of the things that we noticed was social comparison, perception checking, why we form relationships, and physical attractiveness throughout.
So social comparison is how we evaluate ourselves in terms of how we compare with others. So this is basically like, do we think we're superior, inferior? Are we prettier? Are we uglier? More athletic? I don't know. Anything you can think of, really. We almost put ourselves in groups based on our own ideas.
So we saw this come into play a couple of different times and ways when we, went to the gas stations. Usually it was when we would go in, say we went into the gas station and we were looking really good, like really fancy, dressed up in dresses, heels. The people behind us would judge us and them, deciding if they wanted to give us some extra money. So if we looked really good and the people behind us not so much, let's say that you could tell that they didn't have as much money as we did, and they usually didn't offer it because you could tell that we had money. We just didn't, have it at the time, so they didn't want to pay for us when they didn't have the money to give anyway. Also, it goes back and forth. If we looked lesser and the people behind us looked way better than we did, then they, they would help us out and they would want to pay for us. And another thing is like attractiveness. This kind of comes into play, and we'll talk about this more later as well, but there was even a guy that when we walked in there, he was behind us, he offered to pay for us and a little bit extra money as well, and then he kind of started flirting just a tad. And so that was him, judging attractiveness based off like if he thought that he could measure up to what we were. So the next thing that we want to talk about was perception checking, and we had to use this because of a kind of, not a disagreement, but things that we saw differently in one of the instances we had. So perception checking, there's 3 steps to it, and the first one is you have to describe the behavior that you noticed, and then the second one is you need to make up at least 2 possible interpretations for why they would have, which she has one and I have one. And the last one is like you request for clarification on that to find out what they're really meaning. We didn't have the guy there that was in this instance to clarify with, but we both, through back and forth talking about it, we came to a conclusion of what it was.
So this is when we went to the gas station looking good, looking like our normal selves. We were 10 cents short. And the man behind us actually offered to pay for the whole thing, but we just took the 10 cents. Anyway, we actually ran into him out in the parking lot, and he had like a razor, and he was kind of just like flaunting his razor and stuff, and I came to the conclusion that he was flirting, just that he wanted to pay for our items and that he was, talking himself up. I kind of think that men draw a relationship between money and power and attractiveness, and I feel like he was trying to come off as attractive to us just by flaunting his money and his nice razor and things like that.
And this man was probably in his late 20s, so he was fairly young. But both of us, we work in a medical field where we deal with elderly men quite a lot. And usually, when you deal with people in the older era, they kind of tend to use kindness, and it comes across as flirting. So when it happened, I didn't think that it was totally flirting. I kind of took it that way because that's the mindset that I was in. That was just, like, oh, he's just being kind, whatever. And then through kind of talking about it back and forth, we came to the conclusion that he's, not in that era. He's only 27, so he was probably flirting just to kind of show off what he had. Next thing that we looked at was the social exchange theory. And what this theory is reward minus cost equals outcome. So you can fit this into any of the places that we went. Whoever was behind us had to put this into consideration when they decided if they wanted to give us the 10 cents. So like say they were in a hurry, their reward would be to get out of there quicker rather than wait for us to, figure out what we're going to do when we're in a panic for 10 cents. Their cost is the 10 cents minus 10 cents, and then the outcome is that they get to leave earlier. So the majority of the people would just take the losing 10 cents and go on with their day.
Mm-hmm. It also kind of depended, like we noticed gender differences. Like with our male friends, it was usually a female cashier or a female behind them that would offer to pay the 10 cents. And the only time they ever really got rejected, it was a male. And then it went the same for us. Like most of the time, a male would give us the 10 cents, whether they were behind us or the cashier. And I think it just kind of plays into like attraction as well. The reward is that maybe we'll think that they're a nice person, and the cost is the 10 cents. So the outcome is maybe we think that they're a nice person. I don't know. Okay, so we're just going to go into a little bit of why we form relationships. Not that we were necessarily trying to form a relationship with the cashier or the people behind us, but I think it plays into the way we communicate and how we're willing to help people, things like that. So anyway, some of the key points are appearance, similarity, complementary, reciprocal attraction, competence, disclosure, proximity, and rewards. So in this case, we're going to focus on similarity. So we had our Hispanic friend go into the gas station and pretend like he didn't know English to see if they would give him the 10 cents. Anyway, he couldn't actually say he was 10 cent shorts or anything in English, but he kind of, you know, held up his coins and stuff to show and only spoke in Spanish, and they actually didn't end up giving him the 10 cents.
So yeah, they didn't really understand. They got the point across that he couldn't pay for it, but all they kind of told him was like, sorry, you know, you don't have enough, and he had to leave. We tried this at other stores with the same guy, but at the other stores, he was allowed to speak English. And at the other stores, he was given 10 cents because he could express what he was trying to say. So not even with just how we form relationships, this goes into like a bigger aspect of just communication in general, of how hard it is to communicate with someone who is of another culture, you know, who speaks a different language. It was very hard to get past that block between the two. Okay, so the last thing that we want to talk about is physical attractiveness, because this basically was the whole big idea behind our project. And so physical attractiveness is just how someone sees you. If they see you as their attractive suit, this affects people from a very young age to a very old age. You know, everybody has their idea of what's attractive to them and what's not. If someone is attractive to you, you automatically view them as like stronger, and they make it easier to persuade you a certain way, you know, you want to do what they want because you see them as attractive. Effects on attractiveness, you know, like posture, your gesture, facial and exercise, everything with that. So when we looked good in one of the stores, the people that gave us money, they wanted to have a talk with us more so. If we didn't look so good, they'd still give us the money, but they just kind of like threw it at us like, okay, see you later, you know, sent us out the door. Maybe said, here you go, and we said thanks, that's it, and we left. Where if we looked good, then they wanted to talk with us, explain what they were doing, what we were doing, kind of have a conversation.
And when we tried to dress like poorly, we also used we tried to use a lot of gestures and a lot of, I don't know, we sunk our posture down. We tried to do the things that we took notes on. We didn't smile as often, and so it could have also been our gestures as well, and just the body language that made people not as willing to give to us. They still gave to us, but they were more hesitant to do so. And yeah, like Brooke was saying, we kind of just were out the door, no conversation, no anything. Like, I don't know, that's just how it went.
And people kind of reciprocated whatever we were giving them. So if our gestures weren't good, like they, you know, responded, they reciprocated with that. So they'd give us the same attitude that we were giving them. So in review, we just want to kind of go over everything that we've already talked about, because all of these things played a big part in what we experienced these past few days, going into the gas stations and seeing how people would act around us. So those big things were social comparison, how people acted with us, you know, what they thought of us, dressed differently, what they thought of man versus female. We had to use perception checking between both of us to, you know, think about an experience that we both went through together. We had to look at social exchange theory, how people saw that and how they used that, even though they didn't realize they were. We had to realize why we form relationships, see what people wanted to form relationships with, what type of person we were at the time, and they looked at physical attractiveness as well.
So our conclusion or call to action is basically just don't judge a book by its cover. You never know how someone truly is, like once you become their friend. You never know what someone else is going through. They may need that extra 10 cents one day or just that little conversation. So try to be more aware as you meet new people or just see people in public that even though they may look rough or don't discriminate over male and female, just things like that. Be kind to everyone.
And thank you guys for your time to watch over this video.
Thanks so much for watching.